What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday, and today we are going to talk about some of the recent events. Every now and then we have to kind of do this because there's topics that come up that are kind of big enough to discuss, but not big enough to kind of merit their own videos. So we'll compile a few of them and then tackle it in one day. Today is that day. We're going to look at the BadCube resurgence, the Fanstoys reveals, and what was the other one? The Cang Toys Razor Claw. All of which I have a little bit to say, but not a ton. So we're not going to take up too much of your time this morning, I don't believe. But before we do any of that, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So for one, we have the masterpiece discussion. A lot of people got what I was saying. And then we went right into the Starscream video, and then people were saying, well, you just said it's not about quality. That's not what I said. That's not what I said at all. I said that Masterpiece is a brand and it is a scale. And yes, you can make the kind of general sweeping statement that it is a masterpiece because it is under that scale and it is under that brand name. However, when critiquing a masterpiece, you can also say that this masterpiece release is not up to the quality and standard of previous masterpiece releases or what the brand has secured as a reputation in the past. It is okay to do both. If we're talking about comparing quality in terms of rating things a masterpiece, it puts Hot Rod even further down the list. You guys are better than that. Come on. There's no sense in saying that just because it's a masterpiece, it always gets all of its flowers being due to being a masterpiece because it has masterpiece written on the box. At that point, there's no point in critiquing things anymore because we're just going to say that it is keeping true to its own standard. Negative, sir. We can look at it, acknowledge that it is a officially released masterpiece, and then simultaneously then say it is not up to the masterpiece standard that has been set by previous masterpieces under the masterpiece branding. I don't really feel like I should have to take a whole lot of time with this, but apparently I do, and it's no disrespect, but I gotta just set the record straight. We had the Mortal Kombat dioramas. I really enjoyed doing a lot of those. I didn't get a whole lot of feedback necessarily. At this point, I'm recording this on the same day that I put that video out, so I'm not sure if anything needs to be cleaned up from that or not. There's always people that say I would have done this and I would have done that, and by all means, do it. It's tight sometimes to work with constraints and materials and space and logistics as it is for everyone. That's what we talk about on the Dummies critique stuff, right? We're no different than anyone else. We go through the same trials, tribulations, and struggles, and we critique our stuff the same way behind closed doors. And outside in the open in a few videos as well. Last week, the Nebulos diorama, a lot of people were saying to put the Target Master in the shelf, and like I can, the problem is I'm still holding on to hope. You know, I'm an optimist at heart. In spite of what they say about me, I like to see the good in things and believe in the good in things and hope that the good things are going to happen. I'm not sure that they will, but if I move that Target Master over, then I'm left with an empty shelf, so lose-lose in many ways, but I do plan on doing something for that Target Master also. And we have another diorama video to look at, I think, this coming Friday. So, real quick, I had 2 Dinobot blankets to resurface, so if you guys are interested, get at me. I have 1 Sherpa and 1 woven, and that's it. Sometimes stuff gets lost in the sauce, sometimes, you know, wrong orders went out, I had to get another order back, etc., etc. So, if you're looking for one, I got 1 of each. First come, first serve, BobbySkullface@gmail.com. And with that, I think we can get into today's topic. So, let's start with BadCube. So, recently, BadCube orders started going up. Pre-orders for previous releases on websites mainly over in the East. Eventually, they did show up on Western websites as well, and people began hitting me up like, is BadCube back? Is BadCube back? And I don't know. I don't have any contacts per se. I would not necessarily look at this and think to myself that BadCube is back. There's a number of reasons why. For one, this is a mold that's already out there. The packaging is already done. The molds are already made. The assembly is already known what's required, etc., etc. So it would be very easy for them to just produce it again and put it back out and gather some bucks up. The other kind of side to this argument is that, like, and forgive me, this is very tinfoil hat of me, and I'm just this way. I'm very cynical, and I don't trust anything, especially the things that I don't know. So when I'm paranoid. So when I look at this stuff, I'm also like, man, who owns these molds, right? We know that BadCube wasn't using their own factory, right? That they were using space in other people's factory. And I also have heard that BadCube is now producing dioramas, right? I'll get back to that in a second. The question then becomes, if I have a factory, and you produce a design, and you use my factory to create the mold, who owns the mold in this sort of business, right? Which is all sort of under the radar anyway. It's kind of like owning your masters or your publishing and music or something. It's like, you paid for it, but who owns it? Did the factory gift it to you when you decided to stop doing business and you took it home to keep forever? Maybe. I would suggest probably not. Or does the factory keep it and they can do whatever they want with it? My guess is probably that BadCube sees the markets that Grump and Stomp or whatever it is, Stomp, the Swerve and Gears. I don't speak third party very well. I can speak about third party, but I don't speak the language specifically. directly. To me, it's always third-party company name and then G1 name. So BadCube Gears, BadCube Swerve. They get a lot of money on the aftermarket. They probably have to see that. It's the same reason why Fanstoys put out the bugs again recently, or they found the extra stock. It's the same thing with this, right? Like the Grump in the Swerve, or the Grump. Is it Grump? I don't even know. Gears and Swerve. They fetch a pretty penny on the aftermarket. If I was BadCube, I'd be like, well, look, we don't have to do anything. We don't have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to get this reproduced. We could just do it. And they're not the only ones, right? They have a number of different releases. I mean, obviously, we're not going to see the Sun Surge come back, right? There's some stuff that has become kind of redundant at this point, but then there's stuff that still has no competitor. The Gears being the perfect example. If I was BadCube, I would definitely put it back out again, but I don't think it necessarily means that they're back, just so that they could take advantage of a situation, perhaps, or somebody else is taking advantage of them, would be my guess. Do I wish they would come back? Definitely. I don't want any of these companies to go away. The more the merrier. So that should wrap up that. I have heard that they are producing dioramas now. Like, that's their main thing. You can buy them, I think, on BBTS and stuff. They're like, I think, 1/12 scale dioramas of different sci-fi settings and stuff. I'm sure you've seen them if you've perused BBTS's sort of website. I can't remember the exact brand name, so I don't want to put it out there, but I've heard from multiple sources that that's what they're doing now. Don't know if it's true, but it's what I've heard. But I wish they'd come back. I would welcome them with open arms. Let's move on to Cang Toys. So Cang Toys released images of their Razor Claw. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, and I know people have different kind of views and opinions regarding the stylization, as I do myself, but this thing is just looking worse and worse to me with every release. And when I say worse and worse, I don't mean inherently bad, just further and further away from the source material. Like, I'm okay with some stylization. And I think that Rampage was kind of a very safe balance. And then what did we get next? Tantrum? The Bull? Is that what we got next? And that was kind of in the ballpark too. And then the Bird was a little bit further away. And then this one just seems like a pile of forks and knives to me. It has more in common with the Bayverse or Gundam or something than it does to Transformers to me. It's beginning to lose the identity. Now, this also is going to tie heavily into the Combiner, right? But that's another thing. This is the 4th release of a 6-member set. You get the 5 Predacons, and then you get Primal, who's going to make up the Monkey Pants. This is the 4th of 6, meaning we're over the halfway point, and we still haven't seen the Combine mode. And for people like me that are living on a prayer, much like Bon Jovi, and I'm not even from Jersey, I'm rolling the dice on whether or not this thing is going to turn out okay, it's becoming more and more uncomfortable. However, I'm still here holding on to hope. I'm still here being an optimist. But my issue is that, like, I'm having a hard time even making out what's what in this thing. And in many ways, I feel like an old man that's, like, looking or listening to modern music and, like, I can't understand a word. It's like, where are the arms on this thing? It's too much. I often talk about this pendulum swinging, right? That we swing too far to one side and things end up looking G1 to a fault, as we've said in the past, right? But then they can end up swinging too far to the other side and they end up losing the sense of who they are in the first place. If I didn't know that Cang Toys was creating a set of Predacons, I would never look at this design and say to myself, that's Razor Claw. I only know this is Razor Claw because I know they're making a set of Predacons. A set of Predacons that not only look stylized, but incorporate Optimus Primal in order to make a Predaking. At what point do you step too far outside of the realms of what these characters are where it doesn't make sense anymore? Not if you're in it for the love of the character. If you're in it for the love of cool robots, cool robot designs, cool transforming robots, that's a different conversation, and I 100% could see how you were into this on behalf of that. But I'm starting to is this set salvageable for me if this combine mode doesn't work out? Because I got news for you, at $150 a pop, I'm not looking forward to buying Optimus Primal, especially if the combiner mode doesn't look good. But we have no clue what the combiner mode looks like. We're holding on to hope because we haven't seen Zeta put out anything more from their Predacons. Because they had to make a Unicron to do a weird flex on Hasbro and cut off their nose to spite their face. Gotta keep this stuff in perspective sometimes, man. Sometimes it's worthwhile to lose the battle to win the war. But anyway, back to Cang Toys. I'm just very weary of this set in general. And it's because the amount of money that I have, $450 invested in this set so far. I'm halfway through, and I have no idea if it's what I want. What else would you spend $350 on and not be sure if it was what you wanted? And you're only halfway there. So, it's just like, I think for Cang Toys, I think it's time. It's time to show us. Release the Predaking. Hashtag release the Predaking. Lastly, Fanstoys, right? We get these new colored images of Mirage and Jazz, and they both look good. They both look accurate, very screen accurate. The proportions look kind of typical Fanstoys proportions. We know that they'll probably have the typical Fanstoys paint and all that stuff, and the sculpts are on the money. The materials, I'm sure, will be on the money. It's kind of what we expected. However, I got news for you. I don't feel good about this for two different reasons, and I'm going to get into this. Reason number one, do I think these look like the best Jazz and Mirage offerings to date? 100%. Am I going to buy them? 100%. Do I have any concern as to whether or not I will not like them? 0%. I am 100% sure that I am going to be happy, satisfied, and enjoy this purchase, and will think that these are the best representations of these characters ever released in this scale. Now, I'm not excited. You know why? Because I'm pretty okay with the Jazz and Mirage that I have now. The Mirage, less so, but the Jazz, I'm 100% really okay with it. I'm just a Fanstoys collector, so I'm going to support the brand. I want to put my money where my mouth is. That's how I choose to do business. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to get any more excited for this than I would if any other company were going to release it. Really, all it does is make me spend money for the sake of kind of supporting my company, right? And before people get carried away on the internet, not my company, as in I own it, but my company as in the company I choose to really support. One of many, by the way. But it doesn't do anything for the excitement. It would be like if they announced an Optimus Prime. I'm sure it would look great. However, I don't care about Optimus Prime. Not to say I don't care about the character, but like we've just gotten so many Optimus Primes in recent years that like it doesn't do anything for my excitement. It would be like a Bumblebee or something. And we could really use a Bumblebee from Fanstoys, but I wouldn't be that excited about it. Whereas if they put out some of the many things that they've teased that we don't have, I would be much more excited about those things. So that's part of it. The other part of the lack of excitement is that these are recent reveals from them, and they're jumping to a higher spot than a lot of the things that we've seen from them in the past. Once again, hurting excitement. On top of that, we're 4 out of 5 deep on Stunticons and 3 out of 5 deep on Aerial Bots, and neither of these releases are going to do anything for either of those sets. And that's on top of the fact that right now, we already know if this is what's coming next, that's going to immediately push back the hope of getting any of those others for some time. Probably at least 4 months, if not half a year, if not a year. So, not that these don't look great, but it's not doing much for my excitement. Now, the other side to this is that, let's be clear, all this is showing what colors look like on CAD images. There is absolutely zero progress done here. Keem, who does tremendous work, by the way, he could have done this. For all I know, he did do this. I don't mean to put that out there on him. I'm just saying that, like, people got excited and this started getting circulated, but it's like, it's nothing. Anybody could do this. Anybody could mark this up. I haven't even done my research to know if it is legit. For all I know, you guys have been busy toiling away in the comments for the past 20 minutes telling me that everybody knows that it's not real. Because it doesn't really show any progress. There's nothing here to suggest that they're any further along with these two now than they were when we first got the images of them. Nothing. So it's hard, once again, I'll tie it back to excitement. Hard for me to get excited about it when I don't really see the progress, on top of the other things that we just talked about. So I know that's a lot of bad news in 3 sections. I'm not confident that this marks the return of BadCube. I'm not feeling good about the Cang Toys situation, and there's nothing about these Fanstoys images that excites me in the least. But this is the game. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. We had to remain optimistic that it's gonna get better. Speaking of things not getting better, though, I got some rough reviews coming this week, and then I got some third-party stuff in the week after. We work with what we got. You get what you get, then you don't get upset. That's what I tell my kids. All right, good vibes. Things are opening up. Get outside. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.